We all begin our love affair with the pub somewhere, a shared experience of inexperienced ambition. Our sole goal getting served, any hangover deserved, each inaugural drink different yet reminiscent. Permission just to be there is the first of the hurdles, so you rehearse and act like you sleep with a pint in hand. And while that probably will come true, it hadn't happened yet to you. You ask for lager because you don't know any brands. Try acting nonchalant so that you don't pull any stunts, but even Del Boy can get too coy at the bar. Best to keep your young head down and get your tall mate buying rounds, knock 'em back in the back room, ageless and dark. And word sharply gets around about pubs serving mates in town, but security in numbers can mislead. You see, it merely takes one mate to vomit or to knock a pint or drop it, and they'll stop your beer supply until next week. A repeated tale as old as wine gaining prominence over time, how we achieved a first pint by taking that first chance. Well, dry lips never won maiden pints by ordering coke or drinking Sprites, and now my flings are fully fledged entrenched romance. As we advance, we'll still go back to that community of the pack, with first pints becoming more than just you mindless. Represent a point in time, zeitgeist of yours and mine, a bit of history in the making, made and timeless.
When I first started drinking, me and the lads used to just walk round town of an evening, hot bodding as they call it now. But later on, when we joined up with these couple of lads that used to go to the technical school, one of them had an Alsatian called Duke. We used to walk round town, and we went into the market tavern with the pretense of getting Duke a drink of water, saying the dog's thirsty. This would be about 1969, when would be about 16 then. And we wrangled it, so Mr. Burns had it then, I forgot his Christian name, but he said you can have a drink in the back room and listen to records, as long as you keep it down, and as soon as one of you misbehaves, you'll be out on your ear and you won't come back.
He took me for my first drink at the Duke, and I wasn't even overage at that point. This man corrupted me. I was a good convent school girl till this man with the motorbike turned up.
But I guess when I first started going out, my first pint was 11.5 pence. That was a pint of mild, it was 11.5 pence.
I remember being sat in the cross keys one night, and I was out with my mate, and I was 17, she was 26, and she got ID'd and I never. I'm sat there with me drinking my hand, she's looking like me. She nearly tells the coppers, hang on a minute, she's over there. She sat there like that because she didn't have any ID. She had to go. And they left me sat there. I remember that one.
I would probably, when I first started going out, I was quite sort of anxious, I guess the word would be, just because I wasn't very good around people I didn't know, so I tended to just sort of go to the railway and then the quays, and then that was it. I'd just sort of go home after that. So it wasn't very exciting, but
Oh yeah, I'd been drinking in the Duke for several years, and then I went in to celebrate my birthday, and the staff, they used to call me Pippi Longstockings because I always had stripy tights on. They were like, "Oh, what birthday is it, Pippi?" And I was like, "It's my 18th," and they nearly kicked me out because then they realised I'd been underage drinking for at least 2 years in the pub.
But used to be always keep your eye on the door, because every now and again a policeman and a policewoman would come through the door and they'd be asking our ages. So luckily we were quite tall and that for our ages, and we just managed to sidle round them.
Well, I started when I was 15. And it was usually in the Derby, that not Bottom Road, and a guy called, the couple was called Ted and Edna Harper. Scousers, lovely people. Till I hit him with a golf ball.
Be in the Waterloo. Start from the Waterloo. Then we've got the Barrow Arms, the Fieldworks, Barrow Arms, and finish off in the Cross Keys. Then we've got the Chippy on the corner of Wall. Yeah, chips and gravy on the way home we used to get.
We had an offer on doubles were 15 pence, but it was buy one get one free. And all these lasses in our class were buying these drinks and things. And, that was Queen had just come out. I think the first single was in the charts, and whoever was on there was playing it. I remember that. That was quite big, a big event. But I got absolutely slewed that night. I walked to Lasso. I couldn't even remember who it was. I walked to Lasso at the bus stop. She was going back to Walney. And all I remember was a guy stood in the queue, and he had a great big fish. It must have been about 2 or 3 foot long, wrapped in newspaper, with a little head. And I was going, "Oh, fishy, wishy." And when the last got on the bus, and I fell asleep in the bus stop.
Sunday night, we used to get off the bus from Walney, me, Peter Sykes, Dave Pedley, John Lowther, and we would have 10 bob in our pocket. And 10 bob would get us bus to the bus over town, half a lager in the Hartington, half a lager in the Market Tavern, and half a lager in the Barrow Arms.
Me and Alison used to have something called Pub Picnic, which was she'd buy like dry roasted peanuts and a few other things, and I'd get like stamped fries and a few other things, and then we'd just put them all on the table, and we'd take it in turns to have the end of the dry roasted peanuts, like the salty flavouring at the bottom, yeah.
Delphi Hotel, Albion Hotel, Alexandra Hotel, Ambrose Hotel, Bankfield Hotel, Barrow Arms Hotel, Bay Horse, 120 Delta Road, Bay Horse, Black Dog, Bowling Green Hotel, Brewery Inn, Brewers Arms, Britannia Inn, Clue Arms Hotel, Bull Hotel, Burlington Arms,
and two guys came in, big boat, front of rubbish, and they said to the barmaid, we're on a diet, we need to lose some weight, but it's raining. What can we drink? She said, well, a lot of people drink white wine and soda. And this lad went, yeah, okay, we'll have 2 pints of that.
George Hotel.
Every pub used to do pie and teas.
We ran out of money before we ran out of places to go. Not like today.
No, usually my nights are pretty straightforward. Yeah. I just get drunk.
Coming home, on my own, pouring down, and I mean pouring down, and I took my shoes and socks off and sang singing in the rain coming down the middle of Barrow Street, my mum.
It'd be somewhere like the Kings in Barrow, because I was brought up in the town centre, and you know, it was always dead cheap, and it still is, you know, it was like something ridiculous, like £2 a pint, or it was £1 a pint at one point. When I was doing my apprenticeship in BE, Tuesdays and Thursdays, £1 a pint in the Kings, so we'd always go there. We'd take a fiver off and get tipsy, you know what I mean, on a few quid.
I mean, the Barrow Arms used to be great. That was on a par with the Derby. People getting in, but it was a decent place then. You know what the nickname was for the Barrow Arms table, don't you? Flying ashtray.
It's one of those pubs where you could go there with 5 people, 2 in the afternoon, and by like 11 at night, there's a table of about 12 or 15 people that just sort of ended up getting drunk together randomly.
Yeah, well, the Rath Club was all floorboards. It was all split straight sort of plates.
The whole company, if you like, assembled in one place, take over about 2 or 3 tables, usually cost keys. And it was just wonderful. Everybody's spirits were really high. You've got company, and people got the bar, you were out, all your bollocks, whatever. Just, yeah, they were just very, very nice times.
I think come about 11 o'clock, I think my mum said, what's wrong with you? Go out. So we packed the whole evening into a number of hours. I think we went to the Waterloo. Then we were over at the West Shore Bowling Club. I don't know how we got there or what we were doing there. And then the White Lion, they had this closed door policy, and you'd knock on a door and they'd see that you weren't a hoodlum and let you in. And then the last thing I really remember is being in the Crystal Palace, which, again, it is there, but it's contractors, serviced accommodation, Damo. Serviced. That's what we need. And I remember I was talking to this girl, which is always a good memory. And then, like, I kind of just, like, crashed out on the bar with my head on one of those, like, you know, those, like, metal things with drip trays in there. And then was just kind of woke up with the smell of bleach. So I spent New Year's Day in the Crystal Palace because it was open till whenever. So that was a strange one, yeah.
The Duke saved my life.
Well,
No, seriously, the night before I went into hospital for my big cancer operation, Buzzard were on. And for the first time ever, any band anywhere when I've been there, oh, we want a couple of backing singers. Come on, girls, up you get. So me and another lass, what are you singing? Oh, it's an old Rolling Stones number. All right, so we were up for it. Never seen her in the life. She'd never seen me. They gave us a microphone each, and they did. You can't always get what you want, and that got me through 8 months of the most awful cancer treatment. It was absolutely fabulous. It just kept my head above water.
We'd go out, we'd do the Rollo run.
Yeah.
Work our way down there.
Sometimes we'd start off in the Chinese. There used to be a really good little burger bar where Salvana's is now, with half a car fastened to the wall as if it had come crashing through the wall.
I think you were supposed to have started out at the Queen's and ended up at the Duke, but in town ready for more. But I used to start at the Duke and go all the way down to like the Duke, the Blue Lamp, the Peacock. Oh God, there's so many. The Waterloo. A tiny little place. It was like a house called Dominic, which was full of old men playing drums, and that was brilliant. But they were okay. I love that. We'll bring you drinks over. And that was. And then eventually the Queen's. And then you're at the Queen's. Well, where are you going to go? The railway club, maybe. And some trouble down there.
Used to try and get from the Queen at the far end, right down to the Duke. And you have the Queen, Dominic, Waterloo, Rose.
We played the Christine.
Blue Lamp, Peacock.
The Peacock, when Harry had it, that had a good jukebox with full of Rolling Stones and Creedence Clearwater Revival and Deep Purple and that, good eclectic mix to everybody. But on the rocky side, it was good.
First pub gig that we did will have been at the Queen's on Rawlinson Street, but I could be wrong. But definitely the first Barrow gig that we did was down at the Queen's on Rawlinson Street, probably supporting a band called Melon and Berlin and United. Yeah.
At the time, they all cracking pubs,
Yeah. But they all had their own personalities, because they all had really good landlords.
And then you go, on from there to wherever.
I live on Barrow Island, and I used to occasionally wander into the Royal Club. Your mates went to the Queen's on Roller. And that's generally where we sort of play for Friday night.
It was like the battle of the bands down at the Queen's on Rawlinson Street, and I was like a teen. I was before I was old enough to drink, you know what I mean? I was like 14, 15, and for me it wasn't about going and getting pissed. It was just like dead exciting going into a music thing and seeing bands. I mean, you know, they were kind of like alright with teenagers going in and just, you know, we were we were just like excited to be there, kind of watching a live band, you know. There was bands like Scum Banana, I don't know if you remember them, and a couple of other kind of bands.
I think the big, back in the day, right, this will probably be like in 1995, it was when Cyril owned the Queens. I think he was pretty strict about who he put on, so to sort of get a gig down there was a bit of an honour, really. You got to bear in mind at the time my sister was done, because she was still at school and whatnot, but we had a run about half a dozen gigs down there when Cyril owned it, and the audience was really mixed. It wasn't, you know, you had college people in there, but you had, you know, proper, mature music bands in there, you know, so you had a real mix of people.
I used to use it for all sorts of things like poetry and stuff like that. I did the poetry thing in Glasgow a couple of times. It was kind of thick as poetry. And yeah, so one day we did this. We did an exorcism. I think it was an exorcism. It was also a common we playing the Queens, and I remember it being a Sunday for some reason. And I think I was delivering a kind of a hellfire sermon as a warm-up act for Queens. And then Chris appeared wearing what I remember as being sort of like flowing robes and an enormous wig that made it look like his head was on fire. And I think, I can't remember whether he exercised me or I exercised him. He was supposed to be Jehovah, as I remember. So it was a sort of battle between this kind of, hopefully kind of Night of the Hunter type preacher and Jehovah. And then sort of Con played.
Starting your first band is to be baptised, a rite of passage in leather. With second-hand gear and no idea, the more denim that's doubled, the better. You might expect an inclination or a drive for quality, though honestly it's audibly a lot more wobbly. There's camaraderie in a scene that leads to nights out like no other, chipping teeth at the same rate, pint and place make even the strangest of strangers brothers. You'll learn cover to cover covers covering covers you've just discovered, but get a cynical wince from surrogate kins if you cover a cover you shouldn't. That's until one of you discovers your inner Lothario or lover with world weariness that extends beyond your years. Lyrics once deeper than they appear are now more pothole than amphitheatre, that rhyming dictionary with a backache now in tears. With bleeding gums and aching throats out collecting anecdotes, swapping playing house for an apprenticeship rock star. And getting paid in bitter or splitting a tenner between you was validation you'd already made it far. And as that tenor goes back on the bar later spilled on your guitar, you see that troop of two that likes the tunes you do. They've come to suck their brew somewhere just because you're there. Fandom usually reserved for bands like that of The Who. And I don't mean The Who at the Civic, that band did not exhibit the sort of decorum only found in one's first band. I guess success is relative and avoiding bottling's a positive, but not all gigs you gig will ever go as planned. You'd hand out posters to hairdressers and flyers to R&T, hope that people turn up early in groups of more than 2 or 3. You see, you'd need help moving the pool table, because it was in the way of the stage. You'd made the double-page gig listing, expected a decent crowd that day. Those crowds saw beyond the bad band name, probably a pun on something profound, and supported the youthful enthusiasm, always cranked to 11ly loud. Gear buzzing in front of an audience, it was no time for mistakes, but getting wasted prior on cider means they'll be showcased on stage in spades. All those basement jammed band practices, all those keep it downs from your man, it was time well spent regardless, all in the name of having fun. And while we were out of time and out of place and out of sync and tune, there was no greater display of affection than when that first note cleared the room.
When I was about 13, 14, I had a fairly tatty, broken Gretsch acoustic guitar, which my parents bought me, and said, if you can learn how to play that, we'll buy you a proper one. Anyway, I learned how to play, just copy some songs, mainly around that time. It was the Beatles and Merseybeat, and I think that was it, really. Rolling Stones, maybe. And anyway, some friends said, oh, we'd put a band together. Do you fancy joining us? And I said, yeah, okay, fine. And they said, well, we got a gig at the Ritz on Saturday morning for the miners club, not the miners, the coal miners, the young miners. And I said, okay, well, what songs do you want me to learn? So they fired a few off. I can remember one was a song by the Mojos, and I know there was a Searchers one, a Beatles one, and I think the Rolling Stones one. So only doing 4, I thought. So I rehearsed them for the week, and I said, we've got to practice together. I said, oh no, we'll be all right. So I got there, I was thinking, this is a bit strange. Anyway, they took one look at my guitar and said, oh no, I've got a spare electric one, you can have this. Oh, okay, great, And I said, well, where do I plug it in? And they said, oh, don't plug it in, we'll just mime it. I said, what? Oh, yeah, none of us can play or anything. Oh, bloody hell.
There was one night we started off in the Labour Club. We watched the band in there, and then we went up to Derby and we watched the band in there. Then we went in the Raffle Club and we watched the band in there. Then we went in the Duke and we watched the band in there. When we came out the Duke, we went down into Edison's and there was a band on in there. So it was that was about that time. It was just like.
It's a rite of passage to DJ or promote or be in a band and play to nobody.
Yeah, so it was who was playing and where they were playing, kind of follow the bands.
Angels Payment, Blank Generation, Private Concern, The Bureau, Shadowfax, Scarlet Runner, The Gift, Warp 9,
Gary, we were very lucky that Earthquake Records was around Anthems and whatnot.
Red Hour, The Birds, The Dolphins, Comfy Foot, Big Dwarf, Chalk Giants,
I first started going out in the 80s when there was a lot more pubs
Bigger Mugs,
and a lot more music. So on the weekends there'd be several pubs that would have different bands on the same night or over the same weekend. So there was an awful lot more choice. And the pubs were busier because more people went out as well.
Sad Joe,
What shouldn't have been a band in the first place?
High Flash Miracle,
I was walking out the West Shop for Kickers, and a guy called Mike McCormick, who you may or may not heard of, came up and said, "Are you in a band, mate?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, you look like you should be."
Steamed Clams.
Well, I mean, first band I was in was one called Private Concern, fantastic name. And we were just doing like, you know, bit of Buzzcocks. I think we did ESP by the Buzzcocks. But we had a guitarist who was a real swear, really, and he wanted to play Apache by the Shadows. So it was like we were doing like that kind of like, and we said, well, okay, you play the lead bit in ESP.
The first band at school was called Rome. That second band called Moroccan Road, and we became, after that, I think we became Dreamline, which was named after a Rush song. Then by this time, I'm at college, I think I'm at sixth form by then, and we had a band called Sweet as Sin, and we were like a three-piece metal and rock and grunge band, because this was the 90s. And that was really good. That's probably my favourite one. That lasted longest, and we made most progress with that band. Started writing our own stuff as well as playing covers, and played the Amphi Festival and things like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I grew up around the kind of mid-80s alternative scene, bands doing their own stuff. We did a lot of gigs with Red Hour, who were a great local band. It was kind of sort of a bit of the tail end of bands like The Action, sort of Tear Garden, Valley Forge, and then there was bands like Marseille Buckaroo, who ended up being, name change, ended up being the Swimmers. Possibly the best songwriter ever come out of Barrow, John Walmsley, is amazing. The last Swimmers demo that didn't come out was just amazing, some brilliant songs. So yeah, a lot of stuff through that.
There's someone, I can't remember the names, but certainly the Smashers, I rated them early on. They kind of changed as they sort of progressed through various styles, but certainly when they started out, when they were sort of writing clean pop songs, I really sort of like them.
It started off with Bob Chilton, Ed Leach, and Harry Flint on drums, yeah. And then Ronnie Fawns joined from Swamp Dog.
I was after a few other bands, Green Gage Summer. Again, we have no bass player. I don't know what this thing was happening. There was another band called the Biscuit Brothers. They didn't have a bass player. It was like, I don't know why they thought this was. And then after that, I was in the Active, which is the one I suppose I'm kind of known for, or whatever, which I go on about, you know. Green Gage Summer and the Biscuit Brothers. What a legendary gig in the White Lion.
We had this lousy PA system that didn't work, but I didn't sort of know any better. And I think I've been out and got myself a microphone somewhere, which may or may not have worked.
The Ambrose, which was a bit of a tough gig for the jingly jangly pop bands, because it was very much a kind of rockers pub. We used to have bands like Dark Angel always try to turn the jukebox back on when we were playing. The Dev, which is currently called Traditions, it was Fatties and it's been called Healy's. The Healy's family have been there for, Sue's still there, so it's like 40 years I think they've been there, something like that.
First band I went to see in Barrow, I can remember I was in the 5th year at school and me and the mates all got bussed down to Barrow and Dalton and went to see the Smashers at the Queen's on Rawlinson Street, and I can remember kind of getting down there about 5 minutes before the Smashers came on. The venue was absolutely packed, and I don't even think we were brave enough to get a drink, but yeah, we definitely went to watch the Smashers at the Friday night when I was still at school in Barrow. Yeah, it was a good gig, really good.
I started the band called The Origin when I was at school, and we started it in my mum's cellar. It's me and John were in the same class together at school, and we did the Battle of the Bands down at Queen's. This was like about 97, 98, and I was still at school, and we didn't have a clue what the hell we were doing, you know what I mean? But it was all good, we didn't care, it was just excited. Like I said, it was exciting just to be part of something and to get up on stage. And then I went to college and met Carol Hodge, a lad called John Kane, do a Sinkhole. I don't even remember Sinkhole. I kind of learned guitar when I was a teenager, but then sort of picked up the bass because a few people wanted me, were asking for bass players and stuff. There did too many guitar players around, so I picked up the bass and joined this Sinkhole. And then they all went to uni. I stayed around Barrow and then got involved in other types of bands, Optimus Prime, and then later on it was Sevens, and then after that I buggered off. It was too much for me, and then I moved away and did my own thing.
The Bluebird was important. Obviously, the Thursday night gigs where, we hadn't heard of them then, and Stone Roses turned up in Barrow, 1986, and everyone thought they were awful, and they were the support band to an early version of the Shaman, and the Shaman were really good. The Stone Roses were just, Ian Brown was awful. He was like swearing at the audience, "Come on, we've played the Ritz in Manchester. What are you drinking, night nurse?" That kind of thing. And then apparently, even the PA, they had a professional PA company in from Lancaster, I think, and they pulled the plug on the Stone Roses. They just put all the faders down, and the Stone Roses had to go. And I believe one of the guys from the soccer bar in the back got Ian Brown in a headlock at one point, and so they were forcibly ejected off the premises. And at the end of the night, so the Shaman went on. The PA van had its windows put in, but we don't know anything about that.
Usually the 99th on a Saturday night. Great place, because they had some great people up there, top names, people with top of the hit parade, or good bands. People like Tom Jones, and I remember seeing them there with Van Morrison. So yeah, that was the place for me to go on a Saturday night. So yeah, I didn't really have a local as such.
And he took us to Edison's. I only ever went there once to see John Otway, the one-hit wonder. And we actually went back to John and Chris's house with the whole band. And John Otway was a bit of an arrogant sort. He didn't want to talk to us because we were just young kids, really. But his band were brilliant. We watched Monty Python Holy Grail with them.
A really strange one was when the Fall played in the Canteen. And then I went outside for the cigarette, and Marky Smith was sat in the sofa van with a cigarette, just sort of looking vacantly ahead like he wanted to get out there. That was a few beers, so I just knocked on the window and, he came out, and I spent the next half an hour talking about skinhead music and Slade, and he was complimenting me on the sideburns, and signed all the records for me, and got back in his van and went on his way. That was a strange one. Another strange one was when RZA out the Wu-Tang Clan played at the canteen. I remember he pulled up in his big limo outside the canteen, left the engine running, and his homies in the car, came in, did the gig. It was very late now, the crowd had gone, and then got back in his limo, and at the end of the gig, I remember just seeing the limo drive over Michaelson Road Bridge and thinking, Christ, one of the Wu-Tang Clans in that, and
First gig I ever went to was Bad Manners for what was the Civic Hall at the time in around 1980-81.
And then a few months later, Happy Mondays came out, 1986. Absolutely dreadful, Didn't know who these guys were. There was a guy who we now know as Bez shaking his maracas, and I was like going, it's not even mic'd up. What's happening? And I was reviewing these gigs for the advertiser at the time, saying absolute dribble, like the guy from Decade. This is not the future of music. And I remember the coolest bit was the bass player, which I guess was Paul Ryder, playing a song, and he must have been quite hot, so he decided to take his leather jacket off. He didn't do it in between the number, he did it when he was playing. So first he got one arm off, and he was playing an open E, and then it took him about 2 minutes to do it, and I thought, now that is stylish.
Anyway, the band, all the equipment for all the bands was arranged and was set up on the stage, so you just step up again, apart from the fact that Angels Pain, if it was them, had a big Hammond organ, and so they had to cart that on stage and set it up and this, that and the other. Mario, John Mario Bosingana, who was a keyboard player, we had this roadie, they had this roadie called I won't mention his name, but we called him Tackless Jim, and he was charged after they'd been on stage. He was charged with looking after the Hammond organ, which had been wheeled into the bar, which happened to be at the back of the stage, the big bar. Anyway, Jim was stood there, and I walked to the bar from wherever. In fact, I limped to the bar because I'd done the Keswick to Barrow walk the day before, and I could hardly bloody walk, Anyway, and then Jim called me over and he said, "Oh, can you look after the keyboards while I go for a pee?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." Yeah. Anyway, I stood there, and then the Elkie Brooks walks up to me. At the time, the singer in Vinegar Joe. She went on to have a big solo career after that, but she kind of sold out. She used to be a real rock chick, and then she became a balladeer. Anyway, I hope she's not watching. She's still a good balladeer. Then, and she came over, she started talking to me, and she had a pint. I'd never seen a woman with a pint before, a pint of beer. And she put it on top of the organ. At which point, Jimmy's just coming back from the toilet, and he goes, "Get that effing pint off the organ."
But we used to go drinking in the Sheffield pub during the day, and we still call it now, any bright light is called Sheffield light, because we'd be drinking in there, and you'd get accustomed to the dark, and then you'd come out of the pub and just get blinded. So yeah, it's the Sheffield lights.
We used to go to the Imperial bar. But it was not the Trident, like a little bar to one side. We all used to go in there and have a pint in there. And in them days, you used to only have 2 or 3 pints, and you start going loopy, you know, you obviously couldn't handle it the same.
Everyone has it's one of those places that you may end up after some sort of work to call it family meal or something, and you think, this has actually never changed. But don't ever change.
We live around the corner from Waterloo, so I'd have to get to Waterloo. And funny enough, last Saturday, because I was just in Birmingham, and they had Waterloo when I used to go to Waterloo. I used to never get to the fact that no lights on. You used to have a big ball the jukebox with all the 70s music on. But then when the fairground, the fair was back, all the fair people used to come down and bounce, you know, get in there, like, all the fair people would get drunk and everything. So I'd have to say, it would be the Waterloo was the local then, only because I live around the corner in Anthem. I used to go around some days, right? If I was only going around for a bit, in my slippers, that's how close it was. I used to go around in my slippers, sit there.
I mean, you get the regulars and they're really like welcoming to all the people that never have been before. Because in some pubs, you get your regulars and they can be quite territorial,
Mine and Alison's guide for a good book was that it had to have gaffer tape on the screen and you moved the picture on the wall and had to have nicotine stains, around the picture. So that was the modern book in our life.
That's the main thing for us. It's a pull between the beer's got to be good, but the atmosphere, the actual pub itself has got to be a pub. Which to me, along with your kippers of the world suddenly bursting into guitars and rolls or song, or somebody at the end of the bar pretty much comatose because they've been there all day, or somebody else still looking through betting slips, somebody else doing karaoke, somebody else. It's just this fantastic, it's a community, which is what pub definitely should be. Whereas you walk in and people say hello and you don't actually know who they are.
What makes your local? Why inhabit it more than another? There's something greater than proximity when a place resonates differently with an unquantifiable kinship to your culture. It's probably something to do with chromosomes or tangled in your genomes. I'll figure it out over a few schooners later. But whether it's the in-jokes or your outpost or where they put on bands most, there's just something about your local that you savour. I mean beyond the liquor. And I'm not pretending I'm a one-pub lover. I've got plenty of liver to go around. But I'll stick my nose in first before I'll commit to quench my thirst. Needs to meet my niche criteria for smells and sounds. And like the smell on someone you love, you come to love the hum of your pub. That perfect balance between bleach and yeast. And floor stickiness is critical. Some go too clean and clinical. Make it sticky-ish so it's harder to leave at least. And an oft-forgot piece is the jukebox. An indicator and knell into a pub's clientele and how often it's likely to kick off. Perhaps there's some sort of fallacy of sunken costs. If we stay a little later, it'll get better. Of course, by the time later arrives, you've necked a 005, so it's bound to be better, whatever. Unless you're teetotal or don't have a skinful, in which case, fair play to you. And I could say to you it's about having all your mates in one place, or as many as you can muster at short notice. But perhaps it's the meeting of new friends and strangers alike, or enjoying social groups spreading like meiosis. You reminisce and romance on the times you had inside. In your mind's eye, even dives can be easily glamorised. Perhaps your love of your local grows as others get gentrified. Is the class always greener on the other side? Should a pint and a fish finger sarnie be $13.95? Maybe you're a smoking band fan, or you hate you can't vape, or prefer a tall stool to those short ones, or weathered leather in gaffer tape. Prefer scampy fries to that peanut dust, or long for pie and peas, or prefer footy on to rugby, or the BBC to the GGs. Maybe your local is your local because it becomes an adopted home, where relative strangers feel like relatives and your family feels it's grown, where you could go to be alone, but you're never alone for long. A like-minded hive alive with memories until those memories are all gone. The telling of tales around a campfire evolved, a provincial parliament where arguments are exacerbated or solved. Whatever your local means to whoever you are, I'll drink to that, and I'll see you in the bar.